Buying a home has become increasingly out of reach for everyday Americans as rates and home prices have absolutely skyrocketed over the past several years. In President Biden's State of the Union address on Thursday, he laid out his plans to make housing more affordable, including a $10,000 first-time homebuyer credit and up to a $10,000 credit for homeowners who sell their houses. But would these proposals actually work, or will it do the opposite in making housing less affordable than it is today? In today's video, I'll lay out Biden's latest housing proposals and also give you my honest opinion whether or not this is a step in the right direction. By the way, a lot of research goes into making videos like these, so if you guys get any value out of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. Also consider subscribing as well, because I post frequent housing market updates so you guys can be more informed. With that said, let's begin today's video, and I appreciate you. This is the actual press release from the White House saying here, posted on March 7th, by the way, President Biden announces plan to lower housing costs for working families. He believes that housing costs are too high. I think all of us believe that. And significant investments are needed to address the large shortage of affordable houses. It says we are starting to see some progress. More housing units are under construction right now, more than any other time in the past 50 years. And this is kind of funny. Fact sheet, this is actually not true. So I'm not only gonna provide my, my take on whether or not this proposal or these proposals will make housing more affordable, but I also want to fact check this press release for you guys as well. And by the way, this is not a political post whatsoever. If you guys are familiar with my channel, I post frequent housing market updates on an unbiased opinion, and also I'll give you my unbiased opinion regarding this as well, unrelated to your political affiliations. So in any case, saying that we have more housing units under construction than any other time in the past 50 years. Take a look at this. Here is our good Uncle Fred here. The source is the US Census Bureau and also HUD. So right now on a national level, we have approximately 1,676,000 total housing units. This is multifamily houses or multifamily apartment buildings and also single family houses as well. So total units, this is seasonally adjusted and also it's annualized as well. So in any case, at the current pace right now, we have just under 1.7 million units under construction, which is not an all-time record high or not a high over the past 50 years, because the previous high was actually set back in October of 2022, when at that time it was at 1.7 million. So that's total units. That includes single family plus multifamily. So let's have a look at single family units. Single family units also not at a 50-year high. In fact, it has been decreasing ever since the spring and summer months of 2022. In addition to that, let's have a look at 5 units or more. So multifamily apartment buildings, more or less. That also has been decreasing as well. So over the past 5 years, it peaked in July of 2023, and now it's below that at 979,000. Again, seasonally adjusted and also annualized as well. So when they say here that we have more housing units, they don't clarify whether this is multifamily or single family. That's simply not true. He also says here that rents have fallen over the last year in many places. So there could be some areas in which rents are going down. In fact, there is. But here is a new report from Zillow, posted actually today, which is March 8th. It says here on a national level, this is Zillow's February 2024 rental market update. They state here that compared to January, rents on a national level, according to their index, increased by 0.4% month over month. And also rents are now up 3.5% from last year. On top of that, current asking rents are up by nearly 30% since the beginning of the pandemic. In addition, they also say here that rents are up from a year ago in 47 of the 50 biggest metros. This means, of course, that only 3 of the 50 biggest metros rents are actually down on a year-over-year basis. So going back to this press release, based on data from Zillow, yes, it's true that some places are going down, but only 3 of the 50 biggest metros are experiencing decreases in rents. He also says here, or the White House says, the home ownership rate is now higher right now compared to pre-COVID levels. That's actually true though. The home ownership rate as of Q4 2023, the most recent stats we have from the US Census Bureau, is at 65.7%. It is down from the peak we saw back in Q2 2020 when the rate was at nearly 68%. But looking at pre-COVID levels during Q1 of 2020, it was at 65.3%, slightly below the levels we're seeing right now. Going back to this press release, it says, but rent is still too high. That is true. And Americans who want to buy a home still have difficulty finding one they can't afford. I talk about this all the time on the channel, a lack of housing affordability due to the giant surge in rates and home prices, especially compared to the past several years. That is why President Biden has a landmark plan to build over 2 million houses, which will lower rents, make houses more affordable, and also promote fair housing. So here is their plan, or his plan right here. Or this is a plan. These are just proposals, not new laws. He's basically saying here, for all these proposals, he's calling on Congress to enact legislation to pass these. It says here, President Biden is calling on Congress to enact legislation to enable more Americans to purchase a house, including calling on Congress again to pass a mortgage relief credit that would provide middle-class first-time homebuyers with an annual tax credit of $5,000 per year over the next 2 years. According to them, this will help more than 3.5 million middle-class families purchase their first home over the next 2 years. Towards the end of this video, I'll provide my take regarding all these proposals here, but just in general, I am not in favor of enticing more people to buy houses in the form of a tax credit. In doing so, you would fuel demand. In other words, you would have more buyers who are interested in buying a house. That would increase the demand side, but not cause the supply side to increase. So therefore, any proposals really that have to do with enticing people to buy houses that will fuel demand, which will likely increase home prices, which is actually doing just the opposite of what these proposals are planning to do, and that is to make housing more affordable. I'll talk a little bit more of that towards the end of this video here though. On the supply side though, here's something that is a step in the right direction here. The president's plan also calls for a new credit to unlock inventory of affordable starter homes. Many homeowners have lower rates on their mortgages than current rates. I think the last stat I read that around 90% of homeowners have a rate below 6%. So a lot of people have this lock-in effect in which they don't want to sell and give up their ultra low rates. So therefore, the president is calling on Congress to provide a 1-year tax credit up to, keywords there, up to $10,000 to middle-class families who sell their starter home. A starter home is defined as houses below the area median home sold price in the county to another owner-occupant. That was a lot here. So they're basically saying here that in order to entice homeowners to sell their houses, they want to offer a one-time up to $10,000 credit if you sell your house. By the way, you have to sell your house below the areas in which you live in, below the median home sold price in your area. So if the median sold price in your area is $500,000, you have to sell your house for less than that in order to qualify for this proposal here. On top of that, you also have to sell to a owner occupant and not to an investor. So someone who wants to buy your house and actually move in and live in your house, not an investor. In my personal opinion, this again is a step in the right direction because it would potentially increase supply, which will obviously could potentially decrease home prices, which is frankly very, very much needed. Let's read the following here. And again, I'll talk about my own take regarding these proposals at the end of this video here. The president continues to call on Congress to provide up to $25,000 in down payment assistance to first-generation homebuyers whose families have not benefited from the generational wealth building associated with home ownership. So on top of this, this $10,000 first-time homebuyer credit here, he's also proposing $25,000 in down payment assistance if you're a first-generation homebuyer. Let's read on. He says the president is announcing new actions to lower the closing costs associated with buying a home or refinancing a mortgage. He talks about lowering closing costs for refinancing, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever here. But anyways, the proposal here is to waive the requirement for lenders' title insurance on certain refinances. No mention of what these refinances would be, but let's just kind of talk about this. If you own a house, you want to refinance your mortgage, you want to get cash out to pay off debt, or you may want to refinance and take on a lower rate. That is the ultimate goal of refinancing. They're basically talking here about how they would waive the requirement for the lender title insurance costs. So if you're purchasing a house or if you want to refinance, you'll likely have to pay for your lender's title insurance on top of your own title insurance policy. That could be paid by the seller if you're buying a house, but for the refinancing part here, there's talking about waiving the right for the your lender to require you to pay for title insurance. This would save thousands of homeowners, according to them, up to $1,500 and an average of $750, and the lower upfront fees will unlock substantial savings for homeowners as mortgage rates continue to fall and more homeowners are able to refinance. I don't know about you, but that would not entice me to refinance my mortgage if I was going to save only $750. On top of that, a lot of people who refinance roll in their closing costs into their new loan balance. So this proposal to decrease your closing costs potentially up to $750 or up to $1,500, in my personal opinion, it doesn't make any sense to me how this makes housing more affordable. If this was to work, let's just say that a lot of people are really enticed to refinance their mortgages. This would only cause the supply side of our equation here to get worse. Because if more people are enticed to refinance their mortgage, of course, that would keep them in their houses for longer and not sell their houses. Again, what we want to see is for supply to increase, not for supply to decrease, because an increase in supply will make housing more affordable. I'll share an example later in the video here with you guys as well. They also say here that America needs to build more housing in order to lower rental costs and increase access to homeownership. That is absolutely correct. In my personal opinion, the best way to make housing more affordable is to build more houses, especially affordable houses. That's why the president is calling on Congress to pass legislation to build and renovate more than 2 million houses, which would close the housing supply gap. Part of this is a credit. It's calling for the expansion of the low-income housing tax credit to build or preserve 1.2 million more affordable rental units. President Biden is also calling for a new neighborhood homes tax credit, the first tax provision to build or renovate affordable houses for homeownership, which would lead to the construction or preservation of over 400,000 starter homes in communities throughout the country. The president is also unveiling a $20 billion grant as part of his budget to support communities across the country to build more housing and lower rents and homebuyer costs. On top of that, he's also proposing for each federal home loan bank to double its annual contribution to the affordable housing program up from 10% to up to 20%. That would raise an additional $3.79 billion for affordable housing over the next decade and assist nearly 380,000 households. Biden is also taking actions to lower costs and promote housing stability for renters. This would be fighting rent gouging, cracking down on rental junk fees, and also expanding housing choice vouchers, which is rental assistance programs. All right, that was a lot of information to share in today's video, but I also want to provide a summary and also my own take whether or not this will improve housing affordability. Again, I am a big proponent of making housing more affordable. Let me just kind of briefly explain and summarize what I just went over. So for buyers, Biden is proposing for middle-class first-time home buyers to get an annual tax credit of $5,000 per year over the next 2 years. So a $10,000 first home buyer credit. Also up to a $25,000 down payment assistance program for first generation home buyers. For home sellers, he is offering here or proposing a 1-year tax credit for up to $10,000 to middle-class families who sell their starter home, which are houses below the area median home price in their county, to another owner occupant. Again, that does not apply if you sell your house to an investor, which is a step in the right direction. So my take regarding this credit here, and I'll give you my opinion regarding these credits for home buyers here in a little bit. My take regarding this $10,000 home seller credit, again, is a step in the right direction. And it's nice to see that you have to sell to someone who is not an investor. This could increase housing supply, but would $10,000 be enough? That's a big question. Many sellers are also buyers, so this could increase supply, but in turn, it also could increase demand as well, which is frankly, we don't need that. We need more supply without an increase in demand. Let me give you an example. So let's just say I sell my own house and I want to buy a same price home today. I purchased my house several years ago, by the way. If I was to do that, my property taxes would nearly double. I pay around $750 per month in property taxes. But if I were to sell my house and buy a same price home that I would sell my house for, my property taxes would increase to $1,300 per month. Absolutely insane. On top of that, my mortgage rate would more than double as well. My 30-year fix right now, 2.6%. That would increase to around 7%. Therefore, by selling my house and buying a same price home, my mortgage payment would increase by about 70%. It would increase by nearly $2,000 more per month. So in my situation, a $10,000 credit would not motivate me to sell my house if I want to buy a house as well. But as a note right here, this could actually cause people to get off the fence and sell their house if they need money or if they purchased their home more recently. And it would not increase their property taxes as much as it would in my personal situation. Let's also talk about slightly lowering the cost of refinancing. This is just laughable, this one. Anyways, waiving the requirement for lenders' title insurance on certain refinances. That could save homeowners an average of a whopping $750 when refinancing their mortgages. My take, how would lowering the cost of refinancing a home improve housing affordability? I don't understand it. I highly doubt saving a whopping $750 would get people to refinance their mortgages. Let's just say, for example, it does. If it did, that would keep more people in their houses longer and not sell, which further exacerbates the housing shortage we have right now, nationwide. Additionally, as I mentioned, most people roll in their closing costs into the loan when they're refinancing. And often when you refinance, your out-of-pocket expenses or your closing costs, or I should say out-of-pocket expenses, are zero because you can roll in those closing costs into your new loan. So in my opinion, this proposal is a massive fail. Please leave me a comment below with your thoughts regarding that. President Biden is also calling on Congress to pass legislation to build and renovate about 2 million houses, which could help close the supply gap we have. And that's in the form of tax credits and a $20 billion grant to build more affordable housing. So I want to say here, again, I am 100% supportive of helping people realize their dream of buying a house. That is, a lot of people have that goal. I just want to be cognizant of the fact of that a lot of people want to buy a house, and I would love to see housing become more affordable. However, giving home buyers incentives such as credits would only fuel demand, which would likely increase home prices. Exactly the opposite of what we want, right? If you want to make housing more affordable, increase inventory greatly, which would decrease prices. Therefore, home buyer credits would have the opposite effect of what is really needed. We need more inventory to lower prices. Again, the big problem here is a lack of supply. The best way to solve this housing affordability crisis is to increase the construction of more houses, especially more affordable houses, and also enticing homeowners to sell their houses. Again, this $10,000 credit or seller credit is a step in the right direction. Lastly, these proposals are just that. They are not laws. These are not something you can take advantage today because Congress would have to pass legislation to make any of these proposals come into fruition. On top of that, there would likely be many revisions of any of these proposals before they were to become legislation or laws. So a lot of these proposals could look different if they actually get passed. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about these housing proposals? Will it actually make housing more affordable, or will it make housing less affordable? Please leave me a comment below. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.